For 40 years, she worked in silence. The night librarian, 73 years old, alone with 50 million books. From 11 p.m. to 6 a.m., every night, people called her that old library lady, invisible. But when a struggling young writer hid in the library, when his manuscript was falling apart, when his deadline was tomorrow, Margaret Hayes picked up his pages and rewrote them in 3 hours, perfectly, because Margaret wasn't just a librarian, she was the greatest ghostwriter in literary history. 50 bestsellers, Stephen King, John Grisham, Dan Brown, she wrote them, but nobody knew her name until one night when she remembered why she loved it. This is her story. Part 1. The Invisible Woman. March 2024, New York Public Library. Every night at 11 p.m., Margaret Hayes locked the doors. 73 years old, gray hair in a bun, wire-rimmed glasses, navy blue security uniform, flashlight, keys, and 40 years of silence. The library, after closing, was her world. Fifth Avenue, the Marble Lions, Rose Main Reading Room, empty, silent, just books, 50 million books. Margaret would walk the floors, checking every room, her footsteps echoing, but she'd always stop at the fiction section, third floor, American literature, and she'd run her fingers along the spines. King, Grisham, Brown, Patterson, Steele, names everyone knew, books she had written, but her name, nowhere, because Margaret Hayes was a ghostwriter, the invisible hand behind 50 bestsellers. 1965, 1984, young Margaret, 22 years old, Columbia University, MFA in creative writing. She could write anything. Publishers noticed. Margaret, we have an idea, but the author can't write. Can you help? Help meant write completely. The author got the credit, the money, the fame. Margaret got a paycheck and silence. Her first book, Carrie, Stephen King, 1974. Except Stephen had the idea. Margaret wrote the words, every single one. Then The Firm, John Grisham, Da Vinci Code, Dan Brown, The Notebook, Nicholas Sparks, 50 books, all bestsellers, all Margaret's words. But in 1984, she broke. Burnout, depression. I don't exist, she told her therapist. Millions read my words, but nobody. Walked away from writing, from publishing, from everything, and became a night security guard at the library where she could be with books, but never write again. Part 2. The Writer. March 15, 2024, 10:47 p.m. David Chen was hiding. 26 years old, first-time novelist, manuscript due tomorrow, publisher waiting. But the book, terrible. He'd been working in the reading room until closing, then hid in the bathroom, waited until everyone left, now alone, at midnight, trying desperately to fix his novel, but he couldn't. The characters were flat, the dialogue wooden, the plot boring. I'm not a writer, he whispered. I'm a fraud. 12:47 a.m. Footsteps, Margaret's flashlight, sweeping the reading room. David froze under a desk. I know you're here, Margaret said calmly. You can come out. My book is due tomorrow, and it's not working. How did you? I can see your pages. From here, you've been crossing out more than you're writing. David looked at his manuscript. Red pen everywhere. I don't know what I'm doing. Margaret walked closer. What's it about? A father trying to reconnect with his daughter after his wife dies. But it's bad. Margaret picked up the pages, started reading. Her eyes moved quickly. Her lips pursed. You're right. It's bad. David sank. But Margaret continued. It doesn't have to be. Part 3. 3 hours. 1 a.m. 3 hours. Margaret sat down. May I? She picked up David's red pen and started slashing. Entire paragraphs gone. Dialogue rewritten. Scenes restructured. David watched. In a W.E. Her hand moved like lightning. No hesitation. Every word exact. Every sentence perfect. Here, Margaret said. Your main character, John. He's not grieving. He's avoiding. Show us that. Don't tell. She rewrote a scene. Before, John felt sad about his wife's death. After, John stood at the sink, water running, staring at her coffee mug. Still there, still waiting. He reached for it, then pulled back. Not today. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe never. David read it. That's brilliant. That's writing, rebuilding the entire novel from the inside. David just watched. Who are you? Margaret didn't answer. 3:45 a.m. She stopped, set down the pen. There, read it. David picked up the pages, started reading. His eyes widened. This is a real book. It always was. It just needed help. But are you a writer? Margaret paused. I was, a long time ago. Published, not under my name. Stared at her. What do you mean? Margaret took off her glasses, cleaned them. I was a ghostwriter, 1965 to 1984. 50 books, 50 books, all bestsellers, all someone else's name. David's jaw dropped. Which ones? Margaret smiled. If I told you, they wouldn't be secrets anymore. But why did you stop? Margaret looked at the books surrounding them, on every shelf. Because I disappeared, writing without a name. You become a ghost, literally, and I couldn't be invisible anymore. Silence. So you became a security guard. I became a reader. I'm surrounded by books, but I don't write them. And that was enough. Was enough. Was. Margaret looked at David's manuscript. Was. Until tonight. Part 5. 6 months later. September 2024. David Chen's novel, The Space Between Us, was published. Reviews, glowing. A stunning debut. Writing that rivals the masters. Who is this David Chen? Bestseller list. Number 7, then 5, then 3. And on the dedication page, to Margaret Hayes, the real writers are the ones you never see. Thank you. Part 6, the reveal. The publisher saw the dedication, called David. Who is Margaret Hayes? David told the story. The night in the library. The ghostwriter. 50 books. The publisher investigated, found old contracts. Margaret's name buried in legal documents as uncredited co-author. And then they found the list. Carrie, Stephen King, 1974, co-written by Margaret Hayes. The Firm, John Grisham, 1991, co-written by Margaret Hayes. Da Vinci Code, Dan Brown, 2003, co-written by Margaret Hayes. 50 books, all hers. You Made Me Who I Am. Epilogue. Margaret didn't want fame, didn't want interviews, didn't want credit, but the New York Public Library offered something else. Midnight Writers Program, free for struggling writers. Every night, 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. Work with Margaret Hayes. 5 years later, 23 bestsellers came from that program, all with the same dedication to the woman in the library. And Margaret still works night shift, still invisible, but now she's creating an army of writers who know her secret, that the best writers are the ones who make others shine. Because Margaret Hayes learned the truth. Ghost writers aren't invisible. They're everywhere, in every word, every story, every book you've ever loved. The woman who wrote 50 bestsellers and never signed her name, until one night when she remembered that writing, it's about making others see. This is the story of Margaret Hayes, the night librarian who was a legend, and the ghost who finally came home.